Every day is Mother's Day on Paradigm Shift Radio. This is Skull Babylon, and on this episode we are joined by the wonderfully inspiring goddess Jamaica Stevens, who is the founder of the Tribal Convergence Network and the producer of the Awaken retreat happening in California. This retreat is designed to help connect and empower many of those who are on the forefront of conscious living and community building. Jamaica does an excellent job of communicating her thoughts and visions and helps remind us of the roles and notes we play and how to efficiently play them. Like facebook.com/Paradigm Shift Radio, share this episode and join in for future ones as we continue to create more awareness about the consciousness shifting action taking place on this planet that you too are a part of. Enjoy the show. The best way to do something is do something before you do something, and know that you've done it before you did it. This is Skull Babylon, and you're tuned into another episode of Paradigm Shift Radio. And guys, in the live chat, just double check from you that things are coming through A-OK, and obviously for those of you who are tuned in, please continue to get the show out there. And we got a good show lined up for us tonight with guest Jamaica Stevens, who is the founder of the Tribal Convergence Network and also the producer of the Awaken retreat, which is for leadership and consciousness in this new day and age. And obviously, I just wanted to say to you guys, obviously, happy Psychic Saturday to everyone out there. And Mother's Day is tomorrow. And for Mother's Day, I actually wrote a bit of a poem while I was at my buddy's house. And I'm going to share that with us tonight before we get going here. And we'll bring Jamaica on in a couple minutes. And there's not really too much community news other than that we really wanted to get out today. So before we get going, just give me 1 second here, and I just want to share this poem for you that is actually like fresh out of my book. Like I haven't even typed it into my computer yet. So, and obviously, excuse me for not perfectly saying, but obviously right off the bat, Facebook.com/Paradigm Shift Radio and ParadigmShiftCentral.com. Check out those websites if you haven't yet. And here we go. So, happy Mother's Day, everyone. Dear Mother, dear Isis, dear Gaia, dear Goddess. You're the source from which we came, the eternal light, the violet flame. For so long we've been in your arms, keeping us safe from the illusion of harm. Because so often we will stray, embracing the obstacles of every day. To become stronger for our sake, chisel the rock, we will create a beautiful statue of your form, radiating your essence that keeps us warm. Your gentle kiss on our brow wakes us up to the being of now. Your soft whisper is a song, singing the patterns that keep us strong. Your branches embrace us in every moment. So let us rise up, let us own it, our own identity of who we can be, awakening our potential, and we will see how much of us is in who you are, a perfect circle, a perfect star. So let us shine that vibrant light to be a beacon of your might, to constantly grow and sprout, to constantly grow and spiral out, to birth new courage and let go of doubt. Help us organize our thoughts and grow nurture from that which rots. And make the most of what we got by nurturing the seed that's in our lot. Our body is a temple of your domain, and though our emotions wax and wane, let us find balance in your kiss. Your heavenly guidance leads us to bliss. Dear Mother, thank you with all our hearts and all our love. Let us serve you as your children. We few below, you all above. So there you go, guys. Well, Thank you. And that was kind of choppy because I was reading it out of my book, which is but I'm glad you guys were able to hear that. Thank you for listening, and obviously thank you for tuning into Paradigm Shift Radio. So okay, let me re-say what I tried to say at the beginning of the episode. So the best way to do something is to do it before you do it, and know that you've done it before you did it. And that was something that my buddy said tonight, and it just stuck with me. And a lot of that is kind of relating to what Paradigm Shift is about. It's just philosophically approaching that thought. You can take it into the concept of manifesting and using the power of our thoughts and our minds, and understanding how much potential we actually have within this reality, which is the big paradigm shift that relates to the idea of empowerment. And that's what tonight's episode is about. And usually every Paradigm Shift episode is about this. I mean, the last episode we were talking about Star Wars, and go back and check that out, episode 45, and we were talking about what it means to be a Jedi. And there's still a lot more to that conversation. I know that, but I mean, being a Jedi is being aware, being open, and also being in service. which is something that I know we'll talk about tonight. And like I said, our guest tonight is Jamaica Stevens, and go to www.awakenthefuture.com and tribalconvergence.com to check out the information and the networks that she is connected to and the information that they are putting out there to help create new leaders, which is exactly what the retreat is about. That's happening this weekend in California. So I think that's really all we need to do at this point, guys. I would just remind you to please put the show out there. So if you have pages that you're fans of, go out and put the link for the live show and just be like, hey, Paradigm Shift Radio is live. If you're interested in consciousness expanding material, then feel free to check it out, sort of thing. And please continue to get the word out there, because I know there's a lot of people who do resonate with the type of conversation and the type of format that Paradigm Shift is about, which is really just about creating a conversation circle where we can openly talk about the things that we don't usually get a chance to talk about, which is, again, just to go back a little bit, like Paradigm Shift and I actually would just sort of cover this because Jamaica, like the network that she has, Tribal Convergence, it's very similar in the same sense of Paradigm Shift, in the sense that there's multiple of them. And Paradigm Shift, for those of you who may not be entirely familiar, is a network of global communities that are bringing consciousness into the spaces that they're in. And in addition to being a Facebook page, which is how it starts up in most cases, it is about having the physical meetings and having those regularly and consistently. And we within Paradigm Shift London, we have ours every Friday, and our meeting went well yesterday. There's only 6 of us, but yeah, I took a lot of notes, and actually I wouldn't mind probably pulling a few ideas from some of the notes that I took yesterday at our regular meeting. So we just have ours in a yoga studio, and now that it's nice out, go have them in a park. I mean, especially those of you who have a park available or somewhere nice and public that you can get to, and arrange those and try and keep them consistent, and just keep that door open for people to join in on the conversation and do your best to shine that beacon and make your presence known. And that's something we can talk a little bit more about as we go on. So with that said, I would like to bring on Jamaica Stevens. And Jamaica, she is with us now, and it is 11:11 on my clock on the dot. So again, happy Psychic Saturday, everyone. And just give me 2 seconds here as we... 1 second. Okay, so Jamaica, we're going to bring you onto the air right now. Here we go. Hello, Jamaica.
Hello, Brendon.
Hey, good to hear from you again.
Thanks so much for having me here.
Yeah, thank you so much for being on the show tonight. And just a little backstory. With Jamaica, we ran into each other when we were at the Lucidity Festival, and I'll just plug that real quick because you're going to see that in the next couple of days. She was someone who is, when I was walking around that beautiful birds, by the way.
Thank you.
Are those a pet, or is that just outside?
No, that's just in my amazing, epic little 2-acre community oasis here in our yard here.
Well, that's cool. Is the bird going to be with us for the rest of the show?
It may be. It's kind of sweet. You said get outside and get in nature, so I'm sitting on the bed.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, a big shout out to the bird who's adding to our show with his voice.
Singing
That's awesome.
The song.
So yeah, we ran into each other when I was at the Lucidity Festival, which was in California, and that was back in April. And for those of you who may not have heard, that's what I was there filming, and thanks to the huge support of everyone who helped contribute to that. And it's still going, and Facebook.com/JourneyToLucidity is a project for that, and that is coming along nicely, and expect to see a trailer for that in the next couple of days. And in particular, you'll see Jamaica in the trailer. And Jamaica, you were dropping some gems. When I walked in on you talking, you just you're a very good speaker. I'll say that off the bat. And we could get into it right away, what is the network that you've created and what the retreat is about. But do you have a message that you'd like to share just in terms of Mother's Day? I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I happen to be a mama.
Thank you.
Along with everything else that I'm up to. Mama Bear for community and for this tribe, and also Mama Bear for my sweet Amelia Hope, my almost 10-year-old daughter. And I think just in general right now, there's a kind of remembrance of the family way, the tribe, and all of us with our place, and that acknowledgement of, both the sacred Ma and the mother within all of us, that feminine element that's returning to the earth right now as part of this paradigm shift. And then honoring the mamas, the women that I watch stepping up in community in a really powerful way right now. There's a balancing again of the scales as we stand shoulder to shoulder. And so in general, just this time of that remembrance of the bloom of our community and the bloom, again, of the earth as we're in the spring, and just how, like, that life-sustaining, nourishing force, the compassionate element, the creative, more intuitive, softer and strong, incredibly deeply strong, essence of feminine is really up in the collective field right now. And just rebalancing that scale, just encouraging the masculine principles to stand united with the feminine principles. So, big shout out to all the mamas who make it possible for all this to be on the world, the acknowledgement of what that is to be that feminine element, both embodied and also just, every single one of us carries that sense of the great feminine that resides. And a special shout out to the babies. And what a gift, because my little daughter is definitely the muse that inspired me on this path of leadership. It made me show up and say, I want to make sure that she has a world that's worthy of her preciousness to live in and for her to raise her children in. And it was one of the biggest steps, 9 years ago that started me on a very different pathway when you have a child. So blessings to all the mamas.
Yeah, it was great seeing you and among so many others, like, in your element at the Lucidity Festival. I mean, the people who will get a chance to see the footage in the film itself, like, it was just like goddesses everywhere, and that was just like so inspiring because, like, we as humans are just so beautiful. And I mean, I just saw, like, just in conversation here, like, I saw a post on the internet not too long ago, and it's just like a person referring to a European country that they had visited, and it was just like their observation on, like, how many beautiful women, quote unquote, like, there were just, like, in the area and stuff like that. And I think that's something that we don't always see it in front of us, or when we do, it's like the superficial form of it. So to be surrounded by, like, authentic beauty, like what we were at the Lucidity Festival, is, like, really, really empowering. And I like
every walk of life, every color, every age, every
body exactly type, right.
The return of the empowered feminine. Girls are getting it.
They are. Like, oh, I love girls. They're so awesome. You guys are so awesome. And, like, I hope my did you, like, you heard my poem at the beginning, did you?
I did, and I really acknowledge that, again, I happen to be one of those people who believes actually in gender alchemy, and that concept of the masculine and feminine polarity, which is really just yin and yang, is unifying right now in the sacred marriage, and just it's within all of us. And in order for that to come about, we've had such a lineage of some pretty patriarchal expressions in our society, that this rise of the great mother, of the reunion, I'm not one who's like, cool, we should all just move all the way over to the side of the feminine. I think it's actually having them stand shoulder to shoulder, but watching the women rise up and watching them, reclaim, sort of stand again empowered in the place of what that is to be the queen and to be the goddess, and, walk again with that sense of, like, your shoulders back and your heart open and your strength, and showing up in the family in that way, united with our brothers and fathers and sons. That's the family that needs to unite, but it can't just happen if it just keeps, shifting back and forth between the polarities. It's like finding the union right there. And so I really bow to your offering, to the mamas and to the great ma, the goddess. It was really beautiful poem. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you. Me and my buddies, like, when before I came here, I was just, like, hanging with a couple of my buddies, and they theoretically should be listening right now. So shout out to Matt, Derek, and Mike. And guys, call into the show. Like, go to my Facebook page and call into. For anyone else, also feel free to call in, and we can take some questions with Jamaica. She's only on here for the first hour because she's going to be doing, like, mommy business afterwards. But you can call in at some point. If anybody would like to call in now, I'm sure we'll just see you in the queue. And if you have any questions along the way, feel free to call in through Skype on Blog Talk Radio, or at 347-539-5493. That's 347-539-5493. But when me and my buddies, when we were hanging out, we were talking. I mean, we get, like, pretty, like, paradigm shifty into our conversation, and they were just, like, talking a lot about, like, the esoteric symbolism of, like, the goddess and the mother, and explaining how, like, the mother what we recognize as mother is like the source from which we came. Like it is like the web, and then where like the male is like the, you know, like the thing that moves through it, the direction, like and so the mother is, when I was referring to like the violet flame, like people often talk about that, and we think a lot about like the heart energy. Like the heart energy is like associated with like the mother and as well. And yeah, like I do have a few notes. Yeah, because like even my buddy brought up a good point. He talked about like the Triforce of mother, which I really liked, and he was talking about like how there is the mother that is like physical, which is like all that is like our physical mother, the one who like birthed us, and then there's mother that is terrestrial, which is like the Mother Earth, like the planet itself, the food that we eat, and then there is like the mother that is spiritual, which is like the inherent connection to like this web that actually is within us. And if we ask the mother for things, like she will give it to us, and that's a very powerful thing. Because we don't realize how powerful it is, and even if you're asking for things that like don't fully serve you, she'll still give them to you. And understanding and developing a relationship with this mother, I think, is like where the conversation actually gets like pretty worthwhile and stuff like that, if you know what I mean.
I do, because everything I do is sourced, you know, from a source, you know, becoming basically a vessel for, you know, an active shift in the world. And many years ago offering myself, just saying, look, you know, like I had a spiritual awakening, came into consciousness, looked around me at the world and realized that the only way that change ever comes is if inspired people start putting one foot in front of the other and putting their hands out and into the earth and making that change, you know, from a personal place and then rippling out in concentric rings to affect the world around them. And on that path, I recognized, you know, that concept of like that I alone as this one human individual can't actually make that big of an impact. Yet if I, you know, allow myself to become a vessel for source to work through, you know, and give that acknowledgement to the divinity that is so beyond any one of us, but is us and is, you know, interconnects us, I just, you know, came onto this path of being so inspired and said, I'm here to be in service. I'm here to be on this planet. Like, I recognize my good fortune. I recognize, you know, my capacity, my mind, body, heart, spirit are relatively, you know, intact. I'm relatively privileged by most of the world's standards, and I wanted to show up and do something good with that. And when you say to Source, you know, I'm giving my vessel to you, like I'm giving my life to be in service, Source is like, cool, great. Well, then we're going to put you to good use, kid.
Yeah.
And therefore, I created a bond and pact. Once, it's like taking the blue pill in the Matrix. Like, once you step on that path, you can't continue to not look then at everything. Like, once you said, I give myself to Source, there's no way to sort of turn away and not show up then, because then everything becomes, you know, basically I become integrity is the biggest thing that I have, and it doesn't mean that I'm perfect. Like, impeccability is a word I live by, and that's just that concept that I'm not perfect, and I'll fall down, and I'll, you know, make mistakes, and yet impeccability is owning them every time and being so willing to, like, embrace what shadow elements remain unintegrated in myself and in other people that are projections of that I own it all, and I become a pure vessel for Source to work through, and I'm not sort of clouded with my own, you know, ego and stuff. And so it's a constant process of clearing my own stuff, my own ego, so I can show up and be this vessel for Source to work through. And so me and Source have a really tight relationship. Like, we're in service to each other, you know, and it's really like the greatest teacher. And it's true, it will give you what you ask for, and it's taught me to be incredibly impeccable and clear with my intentions and my thoughts and what I'm asking for, and even the words. And it's why, you know, the oracular, being an oracle, I'm so careful with my words, because I've been trained over the last few years that the spoken word is, you know, the power to create. And so I'm here to create with Source and for Source, and I'm careful and not perfect, you know, but impeccable to learn where I can refine and show up more clearly, you know, to be this vessel of service in the world. So, you know, me and Ma, we're tight. Source is I've given it carte blanche to work through me, and sometimes that means I have to grow to expand in ways I never could have imagined in order to open up enough to let Source actually work through you in the world. It's quite vast, that whole Source, that great mother.
Yeah, there's a lot like to it and a lot to learn, and it's all really beautiful. And you know, like, I think for people who would be listening to this, like those of you familiar with the show know that I always want to be able to like bring some sort of practicality into what this conversation is about and what it's offering in the directions that it's like helping to point us in, and that's what we'll get into in the show. And I think before we do that, let's just sort of like bring this into the spiral that it needs to be. And Jamaica, explain to us what, in your own words, like what is like the Tribal Convergence Network, and also about this wonderful retreat that is happening very, very soon.
Glad to. I'm grateful to be a steward and representative of it. Tribal Convergence Network is essentially a hub of social architects. It was something that was created first as an event a couple of years ago, where I was inspired to bring different people that I saw doing amazing things along the West Coast, from being really integrated in the festival culture, and really watching as I sensed that there was something more that wanted to come other than the great celebration and expression of art that festivals offer us, and music and dance and community. I was looking for what's the next level of bringing that to the ground and bringing that home, and how could your everyday life be filled with that kind of magic and connection and communion, and got inspired to host this event where I kind of called forth, made this call, like who's inspired to show up in leadership and in this creative way and come together and create more of a unity consciousness around our various projects and communities, and kind of build alliances. And that was the first Tribal Convergence several years ago in Oregon. And from that, it's really been an evolutionary path that has sparked itself. Like, we're evolving with it as it's evolving us. The people who have stepped on in leadership, essentially, it started as events that quickly turned. Last January, when we had our big event in San Diego, what I pulled through next out of just having these events occasionally was that actually there was a whole other thing that needed to happen. And that was, I wasn't seeing a real like hub space where all these different groups and organizations and communities and leaders were unifying and sharing collective intelligence. I wasn't seeing the space to actually design and be social architects of, what the next paradigm will be. And so the kind of Convergence Network started birthing from that event, and we spent the last year where a group of people really felt themselves called into leadership, and we've been sitting in council and basically developing templates and patterning for new governance systems, ways of working through our tension revelation process, is what we call our conflict resolution, and how to even be in co-shared leadership, how to be representative of the many projects we're working on and have a shared council space so that we're sharing information and resources and alliances. And it's turned now, a year later, into just a birth of really activated, innovative sectors of the new paradigm, everything from conscious media to, indigenous relations, to education and our children and our families, to, new forms of art, to sacred economics, new forms of emerging, economic structures, to, land properties, land stewardship, and village creation. And these are just a few of the things that we work with, but essentially what we're forming is this hub to be a consultancy and a holding space of information flow and counselship and relationship building between the leaders who are really holding down different pillars of what needs to happen in the society in order to make the great shift. It's not an easy task. It's complex, and yet when you create systems that we base on sacred geometry and we base it after how nature organizes itself, and we learn how to relate again, where we empower people to be their own leader and then find core shared values that we can unify around in agreement fields of how we want to act and relate, then you empower people that we're all really the leaders of our own reality, the creators of our own universe. And yet if we can, if we work together and unify around common principles, then as we go out in the world and do our various acts of good and bring our particular key of innovation for the new paradigm forward, we're unified and can reach into this network for support and resources and alliances that have much more meaning than just sort of random people that you go look for, out in the world. This creates a nexus that I think is both incredibly spiritually focused and also very grounded and rooted in how to bring the divinity to the living earth, to live in this every day and to bring peace in the world. So it's complex in how to describe it because it's so many things. So what we're trying to do is create some cohesion among all the different elements, both on local scale, individual scale, and then on global scale, of how you would find pathways to move forward as a united people with so much distinction and differences and all the different ways that we could look at everything different about humanity. Our focus is how can we find commonality and alliance and share the resources so all of us get to work, live in a world that's just. And we don't have, the answer, but what we do is we are committed to finding that out together, to learning, to practicing what we preach and becoming the living model for some different way that we aren't seeing in terms of collective self-governance that's unified around our shared value, which is, we want to live on this earth and be good stewards and be safe and have our children fed and have clean water and celebrate our art and, some basic principles. So that's kind of an overview. It's it's the whole thing is the answer. But if I could put it into some context, I think that might help kind of describe what we do. Yeah,
for sure. And for the festival happening this weekend, what would be some things that people are going to be experiencing and doing and learning there as well? Like I would love to be there. And I'm glad that we're still getting this out of there because this is really important too. And a lot of what you were talking about there, like I'm actually gonna like go back and like listen to that again because that in itself, in the same way, like I'm engaged in the sense that like I'm listening to you in the same way who I would be like listening to like a school teacher for a class that I was really enjoying, So like I'm gonna go back and listen to that again, and I encourage anyone else to as well. So from here, just going back to my question, what are some things people are going to be doing at the retreat? Well, it is going to be a bit of a festival in the sense that I'm sure you guys are going to get around to dancing and that. So
Awaken is the hybrid. The tribal convergence events are kind of my idea of a hybrid, and I'm so excited for this one. It has been the little engine that could. It's truly been a miracle watching the community come together and rally around what at some point wasn't necessarily looking like we could even pull it off. It has now become this absolutely fully engaged, total activated, community leadership retreat. And so I just stand in a place of 2 days away from going and building on set. Couldn't be more honored to be a steward and for the people who've stepped up to make this happen. It's a true showing of community. And essentially what it is it's a hybrid. It's 450 people in the Redwoods. We choose each property to be integrated, meaning we leave generative infrastructure. So we don't just sort of show up at a venue. We only show up places where we have a relationship to that place, and we build partnerships with being able to still consider that place within our network, our family, our tribe. We leave, give back art and installations and generative infrastructure. So we have the good fortune of being in a place called Navarro, which is up in NorCal, up in the Mendo area, among beautiful redwoods, a kind of new retreat center coming online that is looking to partner with community moving in the future. And so at Awaken, for 4 days, it's essentially a hybrid. During the day, we start off with things like yoga, and then community circle, and then all participants on the first day, Friday, will come into guild community sessions where we have facilitated breakout groups where each participant will go with a group that they most resonate with on the sort of 12 sectors of, of society, whether it be art or building infrastructure or conscious media or, governance or education, these different elements of society. And you can go on to our website to check that out a little bit more in depth on awakenthefuture.com under the guild. But essentially, every participant will participate in these breakout sessions where they're given a voice and an opportunity to dive into best practices and, how do we want to move forward as a community with these different elements. And we have a team of facilitators that work with these groups to sort of pull through this cohesive community conversation. And then we break and we have lunch, and it's 2 hours, and it's Chef Gage. All of our meals are prepared by Ayurvedic kind of local celebrity chef who's really conscious of using as much local food as possible, and it's all vegan and hearty and amazing, and he's incredibly gifted at what he does to bring high vibe meals. And then people come back, and we do a whole systems design session where community members will have the opportunity now to hear what all the other groups were talking about. A representative will be chosen to come and say, I speak for my group, and for my group, this is what we're working with. So the whole group now, all 450 participants, will get to hear, what's been happening within these same groups and get a better sense of how there's an interconnectedness between these different facets of society. And then we have a great community dinner, and we'll be screening The Bloom, the second episode. Yeah. So it's the first screening of the second episode, and those were brothers of ours, and film screening. And then in the evening, we have keynotes that will be available. We do some ecstatic dance for 3 or 4 hours, but we're really focused on having that ecstatic dance not be sort of the primary focus, but an opportunity to celebrate. You just had a big, heady day of a lot of information, and now we dance and we play and we connect and we move it in our body. And in the evening, we have a tea house with a visionary art lounge provided by the Tribe 13 Collective, and then we do more like song circle, or like we have some, songwriter performers. We serve tea and lounge and have a fire pit and more of that late night. We have a healing sanctuary with some amazing, beautiful healing offerings and a sauna. We have a kids area with some amazing programming. People are bringing so much forward for these sweet kids to just really honor the family. We're really big on intergenerational work. We're a substance-free event and really focused on the family and the elders and the kids being so right up there with us and being a part of really feeling what that is to be a tribe.
That's important.
And then Saturday,
do you know how many?
Sunday is,
do you know how many kids are going to be there? And I imagine your daughter's going as well.
Unfortunately, and this is the funny part, my daughter doesn't get to come because I'm producing the event. I know it's kind of actually very sad. I'm hoping it shifts in the future that, mama bears like me who are holding down the whole fort in some ways can also, have my own kiddo there and know that the tribe is sort of holding her place. The mama energy won't be available because I'll be working the whole weekend. But I'm hoping by the next one we've established enough of this that my own little one we'll get to come to the big ones.
Yeah, that's what we're doing this for, for the people, just as a simple reminder. It's great that we're learning and we're discovering, but how can we prepare the future for our children and our children's children? It's not cliche, like it is what it is, and it's actually something that brings a lot of courage into our heart. And actually going back to, I use the word courage specifically because that word in itself, is actually, broken down to mean heart action. If you take the word cur, and then age, meaning action, from one of the languages. But yeah, heart action is what courage is about. So just thought I'd mention that. But anyways, I think I did sort of stop you midstream there. You were talking about
it's perfect. It's perfect. And she's been to a couple of the events.
Yeah.
But when the big ones come, it's part of that. For our kiddos, this time we have I think we have 14 kind of younger than 12, and then we have a bunch of babies, and then we have actually a good populace of teens, I would say 6, which out of 450, there's definitely a showing of that. We have a lot of 20-somethings.
That's cool.
We definitely have some elders in there. So what I'd love to see actually in the future is even more of that broad scale of intergenerational work. And that place where I think we're building as a community of how to really hold all of that. We're moving away from sort of we're all the festival and you just do your thing to an event like this brings people inward. It brings people into a deeper union. Everyone's in the same schedule. There's really nothing else going on except for the workshops or the council meetings or all the programming is the same. And it creates a lot more of a, kind of everyone's on this sort of pulse together. And as we learn and grow, I think things like us holding each other's children, the village raising the children, and being able to sense that it's not just that one parent has to be responsible, but all of us are raising our children together. We're all supporting each other. We're all honoring our elders, and really what we're doing is we're practicing creating the village. We're practicing again, remembering what that's like. To be a tribe, which is an edgy topic for tribes that already exist. We definitely feel a lot of sort of using a name like Convergence has been an edge point. And I stand in the concept of really honoring the original way of tribes and Indigenous and First Nations people. And basically we're trying to figure out how to do that again without a lot of elders or people showing us the way. The group of people that I would consider, my West Coast tribe are all bright, innovative, really present, conscious people who are trying to learn again how to really be the village and how to, what that really means to have, your children held by all of us, and what that really means to honor the elders, and really means to show up in service, and and really like show up to be, to do what it takes to be that interconnected. So we're learning, we're trying, we're finding a pathway together. And I'm really, honored by not saying that like we have it figured out, but what we're figuring out, we are very open and open source about sharing as much as we can with everyone that we can, so that we're all collectively learning together. There's no reason for everybody to fall in the same hole and be like, oh, everybody skinned their knees because nobody stopped and said, hey, if you go around to the left or to the right, it's like that kind of thing that I think that we need to unify around it now, is helping each other. Let's help each other grow into this new paradigm.
So what are some things, keeping in mind, I imagine you're heading out in 20-ish minutes is what we got, up to the hour. Well, no, I was going to say, like, I would love to have you guide us through a bit of a meditation. Maybe we can just close with just, like, a bit of breath. But, yeah, like, we'll do another meditation shortly after that, just a regular 5-minute one, 6-minute one. But I was just going to say, like, what are some things within the last few moments that you can share with us that you not just yourself, but that, like you said, you've sort of not figured things out, but you've worked out like a good method. Like, what are some success or key points?
Yeah, I think first the key point is start with the self. In all the practices that I do, it's like when we come back in union with ourself and whatever source we connect with, when you start from that place of filling our own cup in a good way and being balanced, using a lot of like good self-talk, noticing how we speak to ourselves.
Yeah,
the
you mentioned that
use.
earlier.
The I am principle is one of my most powerful tools. Of every day, I don't get out of bed until I am loved, I am honored, I am present, I am, safe, I am nurtured, I'm abundant. And starting the day with the mind in a healthy balance with the heart allows me to wake up and take the action, And so the first thing that I always think is to, take care of our own vessel, like eat well, sleep well, drink well, exercise. And when we're in alignment, and we're connected and our heart's open and we're tending our own sort of garden, then it's like, then connect with the people around you, like create good relations with, your friends, your neighbors, your children, your parents, the most intimate relationships, your beloveds, and tend well to those relationships and show up to give, to kind of live the ethic of what that is to be in right relationship, which doesn't always mean being right. It means being willing to keep showing up to do that good work, and get good, healthy practices of good communication and how to make really good agreements, and how to dance together, how to dream together, how to garden and work together. I live in an epic community of people where there's 8 of us that live in this beautiful old historic mansion, and we are very intentional about our family and our community and our communion. And it takes work to show up and keep doing the work to have good relations. And I feel like only then can you really look to then the next level of community and how to show up in good practice with, how to have healthy, thriving communities where you work together, you play together, you support each other's health. You hold a mirror of reflection and a space for growth that's filled with compassion and love, but also allows us to, be teachers for each other and how we can better refine in the world, and then you show up, for your passion, and you show up like for your dharma, like the thing that drives you, like why are you on this planet? Because those people who are in your support network are going to be there when you're out in the world, giving what you've given, what you're here to do and what you're here to be. And from there you can start to make the impact point of how what you do in the world can connect with what others are doing in the world. And then when you bring that unity in, that's when empowerment comes. That's how revolution or any social change comes. It comes because you now have like established your core pillar on your own self. Like you're in right relation with self. You're sourced by a source that brings you that passion, compassion, embodied wisdom. You have good relations right near you and around you. You have good community relations. You're fulfilled in your dharma. You're actively on that path. And then you connect with those in the world, those points of light who are doing that same good work. And if we can find that same commonality and good relations, All of that starts to create the web of how we're as a species going to be interconnected. The one thing I'd put in there is within all of that is our connection to Earth, our connection to the sacred elements of this Earth, being good stewards and tending our great mother, tending the home we all share. And so just like as practical tools, I suppose, what you're asking, I think it's just in each of those actions, starting first with self and good practices of tending well to ourselves and to each other. We always have the 4 ways of right relations with self, right relations with each other, right relations with the earth, and right relations with source. And in every practice that I have, it's trying to stay in balance and tend to all those facets. And I think that's really the key, right? Like that's the key more than anything is just to show up in your life and bring embodied divinity home. Like be the living compassion, be the living wisdom with your actions, your thought, and your heart, and your deed. And that's not easy. That's not necessarily like, oh, yeah, you got it figured out. Cool, you're Kuan Yin and all over the place. Like, it is a practice, and it requires our full devotion, many lifetimes long. Does that kind of answer what you were?
Yeah. I mean, among other things, I mean, I think what you said there is beautiful as per usual, and I mean, I was just like having a guy talk to me on Facebook while I was listening at the same time, and he's just like, yeah, like he felt it too, like. And I'm so glad, especially just how this synced up for Jamaica, for you to be with us here today on Mother's Day, because I just feel that you're like such a very authentic representation of like what it means to be the mother at this day and age. And I'm just really grateful for that, for you being here. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, like within the last couple minutes, we do have someone who's in the queue who I believe has a couple questions for you. So, we'll bring that person on in a minute. I'd actually just like to bring up one point because I think it's really important, and it's something that you said when I was at the Lucidity Festival and I was first listening to you talk, and it really stuck with me. And for the people listening, you'll understand why in a second. And it was talking about the shift from the idea of the warrior to the guardian. And I really like that. And I mean, just to summarize in my own understanding of it, like the warrior being like the person who is not necessarily rebelling against, but like fighting against like something that is like external, whereas the guardian is someone who like stands up for what they love. And I think you're right. Like when I heard that, I was like, Yeah. But I would just like to hear maybe what
what else. That's a big key. I teach a Way of the Dragon workshop, which is all about that sort of, a student on the path of self-mastery. That's how I call it, because a master won't ever call themselves a master, and I'm certainly not one. I'm definitely a student. But in that, one of the biggest keys that I am really a champion of is that shift into guardianship. Oftentimes I'll hear us be like the warriors of light, and the kind of like the warriors of the earth, and even in that signifies that there's something to fight against. That still creates a separation consciousness where there's something like outside of ourselves that we're fighting. And really what I'm keenly aware of is that there's nothing outside of ourselves. We're like in true unity, like everything is a reflection of what's happening within us. And while not any one of us is creating this world because it's a co-creative matrix, each one of us is an influencer of this co-creative matrix. It's a hologram. It doesn't exist except where it exists because we're projecting that. And so if I'm still projecting outside of myself that there's something to fight, that I'm like defending anything, then I've now created some sort of enemy to be the antagonist. And so the shift for me is because, again, language is so important. It's what we're creating a world with. I've really been encouraging, my family and people around me to shift to guardian. And what is that same spirit of loving something so much that you're devoted to its well-being? Like you would stand for it. You would take a stand for it. And I think that inspiring in us that we're here to take a stand for everything we believe in. Like I will stand up every day, and it's ferocity, that same spirit of what that, when you think warrior, but warrior has been now taken by other elements to mean something very different. And the original spirit of it was guardian, and it was here to say, like, I'm here in guardianship and service to what I believe in, to what I'm devoted to, my family, my tribe, my home, to the earth. And I like the way that feels in my body. When I feel guardian, I feel that sense of strength, but compassion. It's like in guardianship, I don't ever really have to even draw my sword because I'm so clearly standing in my truth, in my strength, that it in itself, I'm not fighting anything. It's sort of, and I'm going to say honestly, I'm still working with this. This is a key that's unlocking. I'm not perfect in it, but it's my every endeavor to stand in good guardianship, to stand strong in the face of things that I'm afraid of, to stand strong in face of things that I'm, not sure how to navigate through, and still arrive with a heart open, full of that word courage you use, to find the pathway, but not resort to the same either, violent communication style or the same sort of like defense, but really stand in a devotion to everything I love and everything I believe in. So I really invoke that shift in all of us, because I do think at this time that we're not doing either as well as we should be. I think that the biggest challenge line to many of us is just apathy, a feeling of hopelessness or disempowerment, of not knowing what to do or how to engage, and so just giving up. And so I have like this, what I used to say, a warrior call, but now it's like my guardian call is to call forth the people that believe in this world and know in their heart like what's possible for peace, and call us into our guardianship, rise again with our strength and our power, and unify with shoulder to shoulder that strength again, that like I stand for something that I believe in, and I stand with my brothers and sisters, and what I believe in is this earth, and these little kiddos, and fresh water and happiness, and that being available to all beings in all countries, in all lands, not just here, but for all of us. So it's going to take a guardianship united to make that real change possible, that paradigm shift for all beings on the planet, and not just a few of us who are lucky enough to live on the West Coast. That's my rally cry. That's a big topic, but that's what I would say about that shift from warrior to guardian.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely. I like it too, because I've had time to sit with it, and I mean, not to say you're right, like not to say that, like, I mean, for me personally, when I think about it, like just how it reflects for me, I'm just like, not to say that I'm not a warrior, because like you said, the original word for warrior means guardian, but it's just like the language that we use with it, because going back, and maybe just to sort of summarize, like, and emphasize people, for people who may not be totally, because they probably weren't taught this growing up, but like our words program the reality around us, and what we were talking about earlier about like the mother goddess and stuff, like the mother goddess is like kind of a metaphor, but like a literal metaphysical thing in the terms of like what we ask for is sent out into this reality through our voice, through our thoughts, and like programmed within the mother goddess, like the grid, which is like the holographic matrix, and then like sent back to us. So, I mean, when you think of like words and like spelling, like we cast spells with things we write down, and I think that's something, we can talk about that in a future episode, because I've actually been reading up more on magic and like practical magic, and even just reading for the sake of reading, like things about like chaos magic and other things like that. But stay tuned for a future episode, and I'm sure we'll get more into that. But emphasis being like, what you're saying with the warrior and the guardian, going back to the language thing, I think is really important. But
well, I think it's the energetics too. The distinction is that it's the same energy, but how you apply it. Mm-hmm. And so what I know about the guardian is it's the sense of refining that energy, whereas the warrior is just like full of just like, like action in the world.
A lot,
Oftentimes with the guardianship, it's asking us to wield that same energy of creation and destruction in a way that's for creation. So wielding the force of destruction, but wielding it for the sake of creation. Sometimes you have to be willing to destroy something that needs to move in order for allow new life to come through. So I just see guardian as a refinement, whereas a warrior is just kind of just like really just like, I don't know, bloodthirsty, wild force. The guardian is like refined, like the Jedi conversation you were having last week. I would put it in that category.
Absolutely. Like I think that, does bring it full circle, exactly what we're talking about. Like the Jedis are, the guardians of light, if that's, a simple way to put it. And what I was actually, my original thought when I sort of went off there, like I like the word guardian specifically because it starts with the letter G, and with G's I commonly associate that with like gates, stargates and stuff. And again, a topic for another show, but it's no coincidence that there's like a letter G within like the commonly associated like Freemason symbol. For those of you familiar with it, go back and look. Like there's a G right there, and you'll see G's in other places, and including in Paradigm Shift. It's like lined right up in the middle with it nicely, so it fits into that gateway as well. But anyways, that's just like a kind of one of my personal observations on that, in terms of like magic and symbols and all that. But what I would like to do, Jamaica, within so we have about 7 minutes left until the top of the hour, and at which point it will officially be Mother's Day. So that's very awesome. And yeah, psychedelic Sundays connect with like the Mother Goddess source. It's nice that Mother's Day is on a Sunday. How appropriate. So I would like to bring on a person who is calling in from area code 805, and they are going to go and, so just to reiterate, so we'll have Jamaica on for the next few minutes, and we'll just bring this person on shortly, and I believe if they have a question for you, we'll just sort of get a bit of a response from that and go from there. So a person from area code 805, we're going to bring you on to Paradigm Shift Radio. Here we go. Oh, I think they dropped. Hold on. Hello, person, can you... Yeah. Okay, this isn't the person I tried to bring on. Can this person hear us? No? Hold on. I don't think so. Okay, person from area code... Now, okay, that was weird. It glitched out. Person from area code 805, we're going to try bringing you on. Here we go.
Hi.
Hello, there we go. Okay. Hi, caller.
Hey.
What is your name, where are you calling from, and what would you like to ask Jamaica or bring to the show tonight?
Hi, yeah, my name's Gonzo, and I'm calling from Santa Barbara, and I just want to... Hi, everybody. Hi, Jamaica. I'm a big fan. I just wanted to call in and say hello to the Paradigm Universe. And Jamaica, my question for you this evening is, what key might you be holding for all of us out here listening in on your conversation this evening?
What key am I personally holding, Gonzo?
Yeah.
I'm holding the key of remembrance. I'm holding the key of, by myself remembering who I am and my divinity and my pathway and my origins, that I'm here to help everyone else remember, just to remind us of what's inherently already available and why are we here on this planet. I go out of my way to really sit with the people in my life and make sure to ask those questions and inspire that thought of why are you really here, and let's remember what we're here for and what can come when we love each other and show up to find a pathway together. So I'm holding the key of remembrance, and I'm also holding the key of spider weaving, of just like meta systems tracking, of like really taking in the whole field of what's happening in the world and then weaving pieces together to bring cohesivity, to bring alignment where I see activation points, where I know that things can be easier or more solidified, more unified. If these different elements would just come together, it could click the next level. So kind of social architecture and meta systems along with just that remembrance. And I guess grace. I'm learning a lot about grace, a lot about how to not, how to not be perfect. I'm never going to be perfect, but finding grace in every thing, thanking everything that comes our way, seeing the beauty in every opportunity, even the most devastating challenge, and how to find grace and walk with that grace in the world. So those would be my keys, Gonzo.
Thank you.
Is that good for you, Gonzo?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to sit with that.
Gonzo, what are your keys?
Go for
it. What are mine? Oh, I wouldn't even know. I'm just really excited. I'm going to be coming to Awaken, and I'm hopefully going to get to hear you talk, and I would love to meet you while we're up there. But I'm just on this path and just trying to pick up what I can from the visionary leaders like yourself, who I see revolving around inside of these communities, and just trying to find my place and how I can sit beside you with a fire.
Mm-hmm.
Well, please come up and introduce yourself. I'd love to meet you at Awaken.
Yeah, you guys are not far away. I was going to say, like, you're in Santa Barbara, Gonzo mentioned. So, I think we should all meet up at Lucidity Festival next year, among other things. So, yeah,
absolutely.
And that goes out for everyone listening there. Like, I'm going to reiterate this as it happens because it is going to happen.
Ever.
Yeah. So good.
The theme for Lucidity next year, as I understand, is going to be universe. So it's going to be very much encompassing of the whole and like looking at the greater picture of what's going on.
Right. Gonzo, were you at Lucidity yourself?
I was at Lucidity. Yeah. It was a really incredible experience. I was kind of very busy a lot of the time, but got a little bit of time to myself to sort of sneak away and see the experiences that are being cultivated. And I did the math on it, and what was created at Lucidity was actually 33 years of collective experience if you take all the people and combine all the time they spent over those 3 days. So it was
that
really
sounds
inspiring
right.
to watch.
Yeah, speaking of new paradigm, Lucidity really was the new paradigm of festivals as far as I was concerned. I'm so a champion of what those guys are doing and what they're bringing forward in the world, and so excited to watch this next year unfold and where they take it from this last year.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people actually who are part of the Lucidity crew are actually going to be at Awaken, so hopefully we'll all be able to be up there too.
They're incredible allies of ours. Lucidity absolutely stepped on to just really champion Awaken, and so many groups have stepped on to just really, showcase and kind of be ambassadors for their good work in the world. And Lucidity is my gold star winner in terms of how they've really shown up to support this whole tribe and the concept. So thanks for bringing that in, and can't wait to meet you. Make sure to come up and say hello, Gonzo.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah, well, Gonzo, I was going to say, I mean, Jamaica is going to be heading out a bit. Gonzo, if you'd like, I mean, would you be interested in staying on the air, and then we can sort of transition? I'd be interested to talk a bit more, maybe about like Lucidity or anything else that you would like to bring up at that point, because once Jamaica has sort of transitioned, the show is like not scheduled, so we can sort of take it wherever it needs to go, and you're already here, so.
Yeah, sure, why not? I'll
cool.
hang out.
Right on, man. All right, awesome. And Jamaica, just before we get going, just thank you so much again, and happy Mother's Day officially to everyone listening to this. And I mean, what would you like to leave us with before you move on?
Oh, I would like to just leave us, if we could, with an embodiment practice. I think it's really important with all these words and excitement and new information to help bring it into our bodies. I'm really big on this concept. So if we could spend a few minutes, I'd love to just do a little guided something and encourage the listeners to just fully participate. This is definitely a medicine that I use often to help my own body keep up with all of the growth and the new paradigm. So that's how I'd like to leave it, if that works for you.
Yeah, that definitely does, and that works perfectly with my intention, because like I mentioned, I want people to be able to have some sort of practical experience to go along with this, and I think just the term you used there, that was almost kind of, I've never really referred to it that way, but you said like this embodiment practice. Like I think that's a obvious and perfect way to put it. So I'll have to continue using that if you don't mind. But
I would love you to share these keys. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
and,
what
I was just going to say, sorry, Gonzo, I'm just going to mute you for now. Just there's like a bit of buzz, but I'll bring you back on once we're transitioned. So that's cool.
Yeah, that's totally cool.
All right. Okay. So mute for now. All right. So go. Okay, Jamaica, you were saying, and then by all means, do what you need to do, and we'll just I don't think you need any music, so we'll just sort of do what you need to do, and then cool.
Yeah. So in that same practice, coming back to self first before we get out in the world, just being whole within our own being, inviting all the listeners tonight to just come home to the breath. There's such a sacred gift of life. Every time we breathe in, we bring life into our body. And every time we breathe out, we give something back away, something not needed within us anymore. Inviting everybody just to come deeply into the breath and really take this meditation in of really calling in and drawing in the life force. And with each out breath, really releasing anything that no longer serves. How good that feels to just simply breathe, to stop and take a minute in a busy day, taking in what you've heard and what that sparks for your next steps, your to-do list you're still running, or thinking about what you've done, and arriving fully in this moment and bringing your full presence with the breath to this moment. I love the practice of tapping, so I invite each of you to find a place on your body that might have some tension or could use some support or activation, and just tap gently. So it's your heart, your solar plexus, third eye, arms, head. Find a place that could use some support to invite it to relax even deeper with this breath. As I'm tapping on my solar plexus, it's a reminder that the solar plexus is where we channel all of our action in the world. Anytime you're feeling tense or strained, if you feel yourself clench or tight in your heart or solar plexus or your hara, above your eyes, any of these central points of energy, I just invite to breathe into them. Help your body, help your neurology to keep up with this great shift. Just bringing yourself to the breath and a gentle tapping. And as you savor this opportunity to just connect with your own self and your own body, really call in the remembrance of these words and of any truths that are floating around that this is sparked in your being. You're inviting yourselves to know and remember this information, inviting your body to be activated, bringing your mind down into your heart. So if all of you could tap on your heart right now together and continue to stay with the slow, natural breath, rise and fall of life coming in, life cycling out. In this space, we just invite that sense of our open heart. Invite that sense that in this world we are protected and we're loved. Walking with our open heart in the world, trusting each other, trusting ourselves, showing up with what our heart's greatest passion is. Tap your heart and just remember to keep it open. And think about everything that you love. Think about everything that you love. Think about everything that brings you joy and hope and happiness. Think of those beautiful people and those beautiful places. Places on the earth, places that mean so much to you. Those eyes that shine and smile, and people who walk in the room and light up your world, and things that you're most passionate about. Let your heart just be completely full with that sense of unconditional love and gratitude. And remember that it's our heart's compass that we're following now, and so come back again into the solar plexus. And just feel yourself empowered as you draw the breath deep in as possible into your solar plexus. This is the place where we move now, following the heart's compass with empowered action. Offer yourself this moment to kind of focus on this area of empowerment in our bodies. Really thank yourself for showing up in every courageous act you've ever taken, every offering of devotion and service, everything you've ever been afraid of and said yes to anyway. To thank this part of your body and help it to relax and open to receive. Come up to the mind, on top of your head or your third eye. And thank the mind. It's such a powerful tool, and thank it for all the ways that it's trying to keep up with this new shift. Thank you, mind, for the ways that you support us with this logical thinking, helps us maintain the basic deal here on the planet. Just invite you to soften your mind. Just let your mind be more for curiosity and imagination, and to be in service to the heart. Let the heart be the guide and the compass. Thank yourself today, and as you stop tapping, I just invite you to give yourself a big squeeze, just thanking your body and saying, oh, thank you for showing up. Thank you for all the ways that I push you or ask you to grow beyond your comfort, or maybe I am not paying attention to the ways that I should be, and just draw the breath into these places and really give yourself a squeeze of gratitude for just being the vessel for source to inhabit. Thank you so much, body. Love you. And as you feel yourself in this full cup, just radiate out this energy to all the other beings in the world. Just imagine that if all of us walked through the world in this way, where we feel inspired and connected and empowered and safe and unified, like what would that be in this world for all beings to feel the same way? We feel gratitude for being here today and saying thank you to yourself and how you show up. Take that out into the world with you. Make it be that the guy at the gas station attendant or, the grocery store, fill up your heart with that same love and compassion and just radiate that out and watch as it ripples or it impacts people's day. And remember to, open up your blinds more often and walk out in your neighborhoods and help people out and just show up in the world as a good person and watch as that's really the medicine that's going to change and shift our planet. It's just helping each other again. So bring yourself back to one nice deep breath just for you. Help your body to keep up with all these changes. Make sure to drink water and give the water blessings. Eat well. Walk every day. Move the energy. Move your body. Dance. Laugh. Cry. Be authentic and ask for help. Be vulnerable and be strong. A couple final breaths. The biggest key really is just gratitude for everything. If I could leave your listeners with anything, it's just that. Just be thankful for everything that's coming our way right now, even in things that challenge us, because they're helping us grow. And in that gratitude, we can show up and help the world one little step at a time, one action, one thought, one good deed. And that's all that it really takes, is all of us showing up one step at a time together. And we'll get there. One last breath. And a big, deep sigh. Thank you so much. A deep, humble bow and namaste to all of you out there.
Namaste.
Namaste. Thanks so much for this good work, and thanks to Gonzo. I look forward to listening for a little bit here to the rest of the show, and so honored to be on tonight. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, and yeah, thank you for working together with us to help create this. And again, it's wonderful that we have the technology so that other people can share and listen to this. And this is a type of information and this is a type of empowerment that more people need to hear, because it literally does change the way they program their own reality. It changes the way they start thinking about it. And one of the terms, I don't think it came up tonight, but you did use it when I first started talking, but the idea of permissionaries, like emissaries, permissionaries, and I really just like that. So that's what you are, and I think you embody that quite well. I mean, I'm happy for the experience that you just brought, especially even just with the tapping. That I haven't brought that up in a paradigm shift meditation, but I think that's something that now that you've just sort of initiated it, I'm sure we can just bring that back here and there. So it's very, very simple and yet effective. So,
yeah,
but yes.
Thank you so much for the sweet opportunity. That was really great. It helps me to get in that space for a minute and stop the flow. And now I'm gonna put my little girl to bed and celebrate Mother's Day with a big kiss to her, and then I'm gonna get back to being the mama bear for this great family and send some blessings for Awaken and all the good work that will be done there next week. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and of course, have a wonderful time at the Awaken retreat, and tell people there that Paradigm Shift Radio says hello. So.
Yeah, and, I sure will. Next time you'll come on out.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll hear from someone, whether it be you or anyone else, just how it went afterwards. We'd love to hear more about it. So that's a future that we have to look forward to, definitely. So, Jamaica, thank you. Exactly, the future is now. So, Jamaica, thank you again for being with us here tonight. And Gonzo, I do have you unmuted. You can just say farewell to Jamaica as well if you'd like.
Jaima, I love you so much. You're just such a treasure. Thank you so much for that wonderful moment of returning to self and meditation. I really appreciate it. It's a wonderful way to spend the evening listening to.
Yeah, I will. Make sure to come up and say hello to Awaken and enjoy the rest of your time here on the program. Thanks, guys, so much. I'll talk to you soon.
Right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, Jaima. That woman is a treasure.
And you've how long have you known her?
Well, if I'm to be entirely honest, I met her at Lucidity. I was playing a bit of a game on you before. Yeah. I apologize for my dishonesty, but it was in jest and in good humor. I'm actually sitting at Lucidity House right now. I'm part of the Lucidity crew. I actually got really excited and tried to grab one of the co-founders to hop on the call with me, but he's working on some other fantastic projects, so he's a bit busy. But I met her at Lucidity, and I met her at the I Am Life Arboretum, and I was sitting buried 30 people deep in a snuggle puddle that I helped start with a couple of beautiful lady friends. And I was sitting there, and there was just wonderful people and all types of wonderful things flying around. And I knew a couple of the people from her tribe, and so I was like, who is Jamaica? Where is she? I want to meet this incredible person who I hear about all the time. And they're like, there she is, dancing over there. And we see her, and I'm like, how do we get her to come over here? And they're like, let's yell her name. So 1, 2, 3, 30 people yell her name. And what she does? She smiles and keeps on dancing. So we just, keep on snuggling and piling on, and more people get piled on. And we lost count after a while. It was just sort of like an amorphous blob that started to take over.
Was that on was that on the last night, or was it in one of the first 2 nights?
It's all such a blur to me. I think it was on Saturday.
Oh, yeah, maybe, I don't know. I guess I walked in on a few cuddle puddles happening in Lover's Nest. Yeah, that was quite a common occurrence there.
It is one of our favorite pastimes, I think. At least I know, coming from the Santa Barbara community, I think that snuggle puddles are just such a part of our subculture here. It's just, we're constantly just in each other's arms and we're just really activating the power of touch. It's a very healing and empowering way of communication. It's something that I don't see utilized as often in other parts of the world, at least in my travels, and so I really like to take advantage of it here because we're very comfortable with that. It's just like a reassuring arm or a hand on your shoulder, or a reassuring pat on the back, or a hug, or all these things really go a long way to make you feel connected to the people around you, which is really, ultimately what the goal is, right? You want to feel connected.
Yeah, for sure. I think you bring up a good reminder, just the power of physical touch and what that does for us. You're right, even just something as simple as a hug, but to be honest, at the Lucidity Festival, I was pretty busy, but I never got around to actually getting in on a snuggle puddle is the proper term for them. But that is on my to-do list for next year. There's quite a few things where it's really sort of in the moment, and as a film person, I was kind of just oh, I could have done this, I could have done that, but now that just gives me more incentive for figuring out all the things that I'm just going to make sure that I do again next year. And it would be cool to see what they do next year. Just to take a couple seconds to hype up Lucidity for the people listening, because this year they had it in the villages and stuff, and I'm not totally sure what they're doing for next year, if they're going to have some sort, but I'm sure whatever they come up with, it's really cool, because that environment, as I'm sure you can testify, is great for just wandering around and meeting awesome people, and just synchronicity after synchronicity, if you want to look at it that way. And what other okay, I was just going to say, so for everyone here, go to Lucidity Festival next year is what I'm saying, lucidityfestival.com. But for Gonzo, I was just going to ask, any other funny, interesting stories to share from your experience at Lucidity?
Man, at Lucidity, I was kind of buried in the office the entire time, but the thing that really stuck out to me was just how much this community comes together and is just so positive and so motivated and actively seeking out an incredible transformational experience. Just everyone who would come through that place was so positive in their mannerisms. I spent so much of my time at the ticketing booth, and I was the person who was just if you were having a ticketing issue, I was the guy you came to, and people would wait there for 20, 30 minutes to talk to me to figure out what was going on, and they'd just come up and they'd just be so thrilled. They're like, I just waited 30 minutes. I'm so stoked. I'll wait another 30 minutes if you need me to. And just there were so many people who really respond well to the radical self-reliance aspect of this culture. They see a need and they fill a need, and it's so inspiring to be working and pushing yourself really hard as a creator, and then see somebody who is just plugged in, and they don't know exactly what's going on, but you can tell that just by their vibe and just by the way in which they approach things, that they're a really incredible person, and you can rely on them, and they're good people, and that they're going to jump in and throw their whole heart into something. And I saw so many accounts of that. It was really, really inspiring to watch, and so it just makes you really excited to come right off that festival and right on to the next one.
Totally.
I've been sitting on some of those city meetings for next year, and the way in which things are being conceptualized, and the way in which we're solidifying how we function as an organization, and how we communicate that to our internal organization as well as the people who are just out in the larger community, is just so much more on point this year than it was last year coming out of the festival. And it's really, really exciting to see that, and to just sort of project forward in the timeline and see how things are going to transform, take a hold of this new theme, which I said is universe, and just sort of do again what we've done with the Totem's Return. But we're going to take that this year and do it with this much larger platform, and see what the universe itself has to offer. I mean, that's the beauty of the open source model, is that it's like we're really just creating a container in which people can express themselves. You create a safe space where they feel open to creating and being the people who they want to be, and such beautiful things come forth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, and to plug my doc again, like because I'm really excited to share it, and my doc does capture several of those moments, a lot of those moments where, yeah, it really just like brings to life and it shows people like what the culture is like, and just from my perspective at least. But it's awesome, man, and I'm so glad that we got to experience it this year, and thank you for like whatever part you played in helping make it happen.
Thank you for the universe, you offered, and being there and contributing, because I mean, like you were saying that you would see opportunities where you could just take the moment to yourself and dive in, but instead you sought to serve a higher purpose and sort of help to spread this message. And I'm really excited about your doc. I mean, I think that I would love to see it. I would love to plug it in any way that we can, because it's really incredible to see the things that come of this one weekend. You know, we put thousands and thousands of man hours into these 3 days, and like I said, you have collective experience of like around 33 years. I'm kind of a math. I love doing the numbers. So I like figured it out based on the math, and like 33 years of experience, and then you have all of this amazing archived information and history to pull from, which you contributed to. So thank you for being there and being a witness to that, and utilizing your gifts to carry that forward and take that moment that we all got to share together and make it last, and just stretch it out and pull it and give us the opportunity to dive back into it and to remember the really incredible lessons that we might have seen so clearly in the moment while we were there together, but they fade so fast. And so the service that you provide by grabbing that and just putting that into a medium that we can revisit again and again, and
share it,
collectively remember. Exactly, it helps us to remember what we learned, and to share it with other people so that they can see, and then maybe they can come next year and have their own experience.
For sure, man.
Share them with people.
Oh, it's gonna be so epic, man. Like, I know I just said this, but I'm really excited for like what happens next year, and even in terms of like going back there with a camera again, because like I said, I want people to. I expressed this in another video. I want people to spend this next year like really doing what this whole episode has been about, and empowering ourselves, and like stepping into like that role of the guardian, if that's like something that you resonate with, and just showing up at the festival in like our most like potent, authentic version of ourselves, like up to that point, or just, you know, that part of where we're at when we're just like honest and we know that we're going somewhere, but then knowing that the festival itself will like teach us so much more, and that's totally like the case every time. And again, to remind people, the trailer for the Journey to Lucidity is going to be up online. I'm aiming to put it up within the next couple of days. Like after the show, I'm actually going back to editing for the night, because it's really it's there. Like I know what the film looks like, and now I'm just like going through in baby steps and like refining it and really crystallizing it, and then having it available online to share. So for anybody who would like to see an early version of the film before it's actually like up and officially online, go to gofundme.com/journey2lucidity and donate and select the early viewer perk, which is only $11. So please feel free to do that, because and I'll explain this again later, but the donations from that are like actually going towards like supporting the project for like next year, basically. So, and facebook.com/journey2lucidity. Keep an eye on that, because it's gonna be dope, man. Like this film is gonna make people cry for like the right reason.
Oh man,
you know.
You're gonna think I'm such a dope, but
are you crying
you're
already?
You're the guy that did Journey to Lucidity.
Yeah.
I love it. I got to see, like, I got to hear about your early connections to the group, and just feel your optimism through the entire conversation, and hear about your process. So it's awesome to go sit here and talk to you on the phone. I'm like burning from ear to ear now to actually make that connection, because I know who you are. I knew of you so much through that process, and like watching it, and the videos, and like sort of like hearing your input, and like seeing your process as you sort of went through it, and like gathered that momentum. You are a powerhouse, dude. Like, big props to you. I'm thrilled. And yeah, as far as just like figuring out the way in which you like putting energy into next year, I think that the interesting thing too is also the also thing is to like look beyond it. I think that like Jamaica is a really great example of sort of seeing the amazingness that is an event like Lucidity, and then seeing beyond it. I think something that happens to festivals such as like Burning Man is that people think like, oh, this is the end of it. It's like this is the end of the road. We have this incredible thing. We come together once a year and we celebrate. But it's like, that's not the end of the road. And the important thing to remember is to continue looking down that path and seeing like where it goes. Like I feel very strongly that an evolution of an event like Burning Man is something like Lucidity, which is just a group of people who are empowered by the creative spirit and the open source modality, and then went and did a holographic representation of that same open source model, and you see that it just blossoms in its own beautiful and complicated, intricate, delicate way, and then to just have that sort of reproduce itself over and over again. And eventually I really think that the goal we're really driving at is sort of finding a home for these nomadic festivals that we create that are really like ultimately unsustainable. You know, like we do this, we have 4,000 or 5,000 people show up on this one event for these few days, and it's like we did not have as a group, we didn't have the time to care for that land in the way you'd want to. We didn't have the time to learn it, to understand it, to really teach people about it. So we show up, we're there, and poof, and it's just like it's a great stop. It's a great stepping stone across the river, but we're still trying to get across the river to like this new, more rooted base. And so that's really why I'm really excited about an event like Awaken, because we get to go.
That's more like, yeah.
Right. I mean, they're moving that way. They're thinking that way. And like, no, don't get me wrong, Lucidity is too. Trust me, I've been in all those conversations, and we have really fantastic plans that you'll hear about as they come out that are pointed in similar directions and really want to sort of blend together more closely with the earth than just this nomadic land on the festival site and disappear, because that's not the full picture that we see, and that doesn't really take us all the way to feeling like we've done our due diligence to the earth. So we've got plans there too, but going to Awaken, there's so many powerful people who are just absolutely connected to that vision and are pushing for it with such incredible momentum. It's really inspiring to see. I met Jamaica, and she just like totally lit me afire for this kind of thing. And there are a couple other people in that tribe that are just such stewards of the greater vision that it's really an incredible thing. The movement all together, I think, is really starting to find itself, and we're learning where our weaknesses are and where our strengths are. And so many of the things that tribal convergence champions, like intergenerational bridge walking, is something that I've really taken to heart, and just sort of looking to the people who've done this before. I'm 26 next week, and it's like, what kind of experience is that? That's such a small blip on the map. And it's like I can turn to anyone in my community. I sit on a board here in Santa Barbara for the Fishbone artistic community, and there are just these super powerful, very wise elders that I can turn to at any moment and just reach out to and be like, I am the inexperienced youth, please help. And they're there with this wealth of knowledge, just 2, 3, 4 times the experience on Earth that I've had, and just really taking that knowledge and championing it as this sort of youthful centerpiece that I get to play as. I'm a loud person with a lot of attention, and just like taking and distilling down the knowledge I hear from the elders and sort of trying to reteach that knowledge from the elders to the other people in my generation is just such a blessing.
Yeah, like that's kind of, I mean, I've said this like numerous times, but I said like, you know, like every lesson is relative to the student, and I think that's like something that really shows both creativity and intelligence when you can like take something and be able to present it to the next generation. And that was, I mean, even at Lucidity, and you'll see this in the film, there's a really cool part, because I got there's this, I forget what the specific name was, but like the guy who was like running the tribe for all the kids in like the Dragon Garden and stuff like that. Like, and they were doing like they had like the markers, and they were like marking each other up and like making smoothies and stuff. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, John Nash.
Probably John Nash. Yeah, I think that's his name. But
yeah, we just watched. They have a great video on YouTube. By the way.
Yeah, they just. I'll link the video into the show actually, so that I can get some views.
Awesome.
Yeah, you'll see that.
Good.
It's like that was just something I was really impressed with, where like the engagement and the involvement with the kids and getting them excited about these like consciousness ideas, because I mean, for a kid, and it's cool because I actually there's a couple like kids who I talked to in the movie, or at least one, and you know, you just get their reaction, like they really like what the festivals are doing, and to be able to keep them that family friendly like orientation is very valuable, and it's good to hear that they're going to be doing that at the Awakening retreat. And sorry, so you're going to be at Awakening, is that what you said, eh?
Absolutely. Actually, we're pulling out of here. We're leaving out of Santa Barbara tomorrow, and I'm leaving with a crew that has just so many amazing pieces that they bring in. I'm really honored to be with them, actually. So we'll be getting on site as soon as possible, I think.
Right on. Yeah, I was just gonna say, like based on, I mean, for the people listening, for the people who've been listening to like even just Paradigm Shift Radio for what has almost been a year now. Like coming up in June is our anniversary of like 365 days, I guess, like one full rotation, which is congratulations to everyone. And
congratulations to you too.
Thank you. Yeah, and what I was going to say though, I mean, even from the time we started, just to sort of like take a look at like where like the community sort of evolved to, and I don't just mean like Paradigm Shift, I mean like the global consciousness community. And I think what is happening with Awaken is like an excellent like crystallized microcosmic, macrocosmic representation of like where we as like consciousness are moving towards, and definitely like there's going to be like more of it, because like I mean there are a lot of like wonderful minds like out on the West Coast, like, and it does seem to be like that's where like a lot of stuff is happening, and obviously the festivals being out there and this one as well. And I would just love to be able to see like the development, and it sounds like like this is what it's evidently moving towards, but like call them communes, call them like all off the grid communities, but yeah, like just these like villages where like people are genuinely living for the tribe. And like no surprises, like suddenly it's like that merging of like how we used to live and like the tools that we have now and like integrating them for today. So that's like really exciting, and I would love to see Awaken like in the future, if it's still called that, but like more just like inviting people to show up and like live on this land for like even just like a month or maybe even just a couple weeks, something just a little bit longer than 3 days, and like making that transition and like building like an Ewok village and getting really fun with it, right? So
totally. You're talking right down the alley that we've been discussing as far as
sure, like,
one of the things we've been discussing is having a space, having land in large amount of acres, in which we can have people come on and spend a month, 2 months learning about what this kind of life is, and then take that information and replicate it from wherever they're from. I mean, as I understand, you're on the East Coast, right? That's where you were coming from. That's the whole...
I'm like north of Detroit, Ontario, so yeah, near the lake.
Cool.
Yeah.
So it seems like, if I'm not mistaken, there's a good amount of festivals going on over there, right?
Like more in the States, yeah. There's like quite a few this summer and stuff. I mean, there's Rootwire, which I know is happening, which will probably be like pretty good, and also Gratifly is like another one that has like consciousness elements worked into it as well. So maybe I'll get to Gratifly. Like that is something I have thought about, and there's like a good reason for me to go. So stay tuned for that. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just talking to someone about Gratifly, an artist, Walla. I helped Walla with some of her work, and we're talking about getting her to Gratifly. And I was just looking at their site today actually, and I was just really excited to see that this same sort of this model is just sort of spreading out and just evolving. And it's like you see these festivals. There are a lot of festivals out there that are kind of like, oh, cool, we're going to set up stage, and there's going to be people performing on it. You're going to throw plastic water bottles all over the place. I'm not going to name who they are.
I know, right?
I don't want to hate on them. But it's like the really interesting thing that I'm hoping we can do is, like, as a culture, is put pressure on these larger festival producers that don't really care. They just sort of like, whatever, we're going to have a bunch of people back in a stadium,
money,
and events.
Yeah,
that's what it's all about. And it's like what I'm really hoping we can do as far as being in the position that we're in as like creators of culture is that we can put pressure on these large organizations to be like, hey, you can't do this anymore. This is so old paradigm. You're just doing stuff the same way you've been doing, and it doesn't work. Like there's a whole lot of us who are awake or watching you and going, I don't think so. So I really love to see these groups of people who are creating festivals all over the place come together as more unified and work together to just sort of raise the bar. It's like, if you want to throw a festival, great. We want everyone to throw festivals, but throw it in the right way. Have the right message. Have the right morals and values that go behind it. I mean, so much of the work we do links back to the values that we hold true to, and it's a really incredible thing to set those early on, and then if you build a platform that is in integrity of your values every step of the way, then you're damn near invincible. It's like you're working off of the stuff that you believe in more than anything else, and you can accomplish a lot of amazing things. You can accomplish damn near anything. So.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like that was one thing that it's, and I wanted to really like make note of this, but it's like not actually within the doc, because it's just not like super in the angle that it's coming from. But just to mention even that like yeah, like how Lucidity within like the kitchen staff did have like totally just like, you know, like they had like all the dishes and stuff like were all just like reusable and everybody cleans them on the spot. And then in addition, you guys had like the clean canteens thing, and yeah, like there wasn't a lot of like garbage or like around Lucidity, and that was because it was like well encouraged for people to like have the reusable water bottles and just not to have like anything else like really like available for people to like purchase and stuff like that, like that, because those little things like those make a big difference, and that is like a test of character, not even like a test, like that's like a sign of character. And yeah, totally, like with Lucidity, I mean, it happens at Lucidity because the people who are at the core of Lucidity are conscious as well, whereas I think when you sort of like look at these other models, like the people who are ultimately like making the decisions, like they're kind of like working from like a hierarchy top down sort of fashion. So, you know, like until we sort of like change the model that they're working with, like, yeah, they're going to keep, because I mean, you'd literally have to like buy out some guy, and that guy right now is just some guy who like doesn't really care about that in particular, you know, because it like, I don't know, maybe it's just whatever, everybody's got their own reason, right? But anyways, yeah, no, I just wanted to say that, like, yeah, the fact that Lucidity and other festivals are just becoming more like consciously, like environmentally aware is a huge part of it, because that's something that we all need to do. So for everybody out there listening, recycle, reduce, reuse, you know, so.
Just be conscious in like everything you do. Try and think of every step of your day and like what kind of impact it is. Like, is the lamp, if I leave the lamp on, is the water still running? Like, is there some way that I can make this more energy efficient? Like, there's so many amazing ways that you can really empower yourself to do that, to take care of the energy resources that are on this planet. But I have to make a quick plug for you mentioned the kitchen. You mentioned the kitchen at Lucidity, and I just have to say I live with half that team. So I have to throw a huge shout out to Melissa Cohen, who is just a powerhouse of a woman, and I live with her, and it's just every moment of my day is inspired by her. I'm actually like a whole new, like, not eating gluten, I'm not eating meat, I'm eating all these amazing and healthy things and sprouting my own sprouts. That's because of her. And then the other part of that team that is, I want to shout out to, is Allison Hensley, who is just absolutely a firecracker every step of the way with and falls back on those huge values that she holds so dear to her. And she lives them with every moment, and it's really incredible to watch. And it's incredible to watch the ripples just send out from that epicenter of a person who is so powerfully connected to what they believe in. Because then you sit there and you're like, I have to at least try it, something like this. And so because of that, all of the food, did you eat in the kitchen? All of the food that was there was just locally sourced, sustainable, organic. Like, it's the best food you could have asked for. It was mind-blowing. Every time I sat down at that table, I practically wept with how well connected to the values of Lucidity those meals were. And again, Chef Gage, who was going to be at Awaken, was the artist who was whipping it together in that last stage. And it's wonderful to watch people do what they do best at. And I think something that's important to acknowledge in the world is that there are art forms in so many different ways. I remember I was talking about Gage just yesterday, and we just realized that Gage is an artist of food. You know, it's like he works in it in the same way in which a painter sits down at the easel and just sort of whips up these incredible things, and you're sort of sitting there at the end going, I have no idea how you did this, nor did I have any idea that you were going to get here when you started. And you're just like, oh my gosh! And it's like there's so many different people who are doing this, and it's like it's great. It's like you are an art. You're obviously an artist in what you do by documenting and sort of blasting out the message that you see and sort of taking in and then amplifying what you see to be right. And it's just like there's so many different ways of doing this. Like I was actually talking about this with Jonah, who's one of the co-founders of the city today. Is that one of my arts is communication. That's something I treat as an art form. I try and constantly hone it and to work to make it so that I can communicate the things that I'm trying to communicate more clearly and more authentically. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's so, again, I guess the origin of that comment was I just wanted to do a huge plug for our amazing kitchen crew who holds their values.
Well deserved,
Hensley, Melissa Cohen. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. I love you, ladies.
For sure. Well, we have a couple other people who are calling into the show, so we'll bring some other people onto the air. But yeah, just last point that, I mean, just in talking like the food, like when you just sort of like brought my mind back to it, because I was thinking like around Lucidity there were all these other awesome artists, and they were like drawing stuff of like sacred geometry and like really cool, like amazing stuff, right? And then I'm just thinking of like, yeah, like that food in front of us like was like that sacred geometry. It was equally as beautiful, and it tasted equally as delicious. So
The fractals. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed talking with you, and I hope that we can stay connected throughout the year. Let's make sure to keep the conversation going. I know how to get a hold of you, so I'll reach out to you.
Yes, please
say what up, and we'll strike up a conversation off the air. But thank you so much for having me and sharing this conversation with me.
Awesome. All right. Thanks again, Gonzo. Cheers. Cool, guys. All right, so that was Gonzo, who was friends with Jamaica, and obviously that was Jamaica earlier. And again, check out tribalconvergence.com and awakeningthefuture.com and check out more information on what they're doing. They also have Facebook pages through there that you can check out. And thank you for tuning into this episode. I mean, I'm really inspired and empowered by what has come out of it, and I knew that it was going to be a good episode just in the fact that having Jamaica involved with it would really just take it somewhere very potent and powerful. And she's an amazing speaker. And as well as Gonzo was a wonderful speaker as well. So props to you, man. You're talking about how you're aiming towards like making communication one of your keys, and that definitely works. And that was like another thing, you know, like even when Gonzo sort of like used that term, like I had never really thought about that term before, you know, like what is your key? What are you bringing? Like what is something that is like uniquely yours? And that is something that is like brought up in the Journey to Lucidity film as well, and you'll see that. And yeah, so I mean that's something to keep in mind for everybody listening in terms of all the paradigm shifty stuff going on, is like what keys are we sort of coming with, like what piece of information are we having with us, and maybe we're still looking for our keys, you know, like, but your key could really be like anything. It could just be, you know, like she said, remembrance. Like my key could be like, you know, just being like the key of the guardian, and the voice, the throat chakra, you know, like that is something that I definitely like use and utilize. So we'll bring on another caller as we get things moving towards the end of the show, and I'll really sort of leave it up to you guys. I mean, I think what we did with Jamaica was sufficient in terms of meditation, so I'm not totally set on spending another 6 minutes meditating just when we can use that time to get in some more conversation with the folks. So unless there's like some sort of huge uproar, we'll probably just save the meditation again for another time, or I just encourage you to do it on your own time. So remember, there's no such thing as not having enough time to meditate. There's only having enough excuses. So, and we'll bring on person from area code 203. I think I know who this is. Yeah, I think that's Jess. So Jess, we'll bring you onto the air, but I also want to bring on other people as well. So we're going to bring like a couple people on at once. So hold on, area code. Okay, I think Jess doesn't want to be brought on now. Okay, anyways. Okay, I'm going to bring the next person on in the queue, and that person's... Okay, now it's... Okay, I'm going to bring Jess on because I think she wants to come on anyways. Okay, here we go. Hello? Hi, Jess.
Hello. Did you happen to catch Jamaica's daughter's name?
I don't know if she, like, mentioned it specifically. Maybe I'd have to go back and ask or listen or something. What, was there, like, something crazy synchronistic about that?
I don't know.
Okay, yeah, true. It could have been important. We'll have to go back. It's a little detail. Okay, Jess, did you have something that you like immediately wanted to like share or say? Because I know you.
Well, I actually.
Talk about, but I'll
like seriously,
but
like.
Let's keep it like not like I don't. Let's bring on other people before. I don't know if you have a lot to say. So.
Okay. Yeah. I guess I'll just not say anything.
For now. Okay. Well, let me just bring on some other people. So the person's calling in from Skype, Jen G, I believe it is. Her name is G. So you guys are probably all in the chat, I'm guessing. So Jen, I'm gonna bring you onto the air as well.
Oh my gosh.
Hello.
Oh my God.
How's it going?
Hey Jen, awesome. So Jen, a big shout out to her because she was with me at Lucidity Festival and she helped me out a ton and like helped me with like filming and like having a place to sleep at night in her car, and that was awesome. So hey Jen, thanks for doing everything. What's up? So.
Of course. Not much. I wasn't actually expecting you to bring me on air, but that's okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess you weren't like technically queued up. No one else is queued up, so I can't tell whether or not people actually want to come on air or not. So.
Oh, no worries. I'll hang.
Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, I mean, like Jen, obviously, like obvious question, like we'll see you at Lucidity Festival next year as well.
Of course, I'll definitely do that. I'm super excited. Like, I can't believe that like everything happened the way that it happened there. Everything was so synchronistic and just like absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it was cool. Like, it was even just funny for us because, like, we would just naturally just wander off knowing that we would run into each other eventually. And it just, like, it was like, that was how things were scheduled at Lucidity. Like, I mean, just, I know, like, other people sort of had a similar circumstance, but, like, we went there with Liz, and, like, Liz, like, doesn't even, she's not really in the film, and saying that it was originally planned, just in the sense that she like didn't have a phone, and once we sort of wander off, it was like really synchronistic on like when we would run into each other again. It didn't happen often. So, yeah. Sorry. Let me just okay, Jess. What about you, Jess? Are you gonna potentially head out to California next year?
Potentially. I'll probably already be there, but I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Who knows? You know.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Did you guys have like anything else that you want to talk about? Because I think we can bring on like other people who may have some stuff. Like I just want to. This can turn into like a paradigm shift, like open discussion circles. So do you guys hold on? Let me just bring on Rain, and then this will like balance out the scales here. So Rain, I'm gonna bring you on to. Here we go. Hello.
Yo.
Hey, dude. All right. Got my man here with me. So this is like two guys, two girls, like live paradigm shifty talk. So, okay, actually, no, I did have, I was kind of, I just heard feedback. It might have been from Rain's side. But Rain, I was just going to say, because I like joked about asking this question on Facebook. What is it about your ponytail that girls love so much?
Are you serious? I had no idea you were going to bring I can't tell my ass girls, you know.
Yeah. So, girls, what is it about Rain's ponytail that you love so much?
I don't know that I've necessarily seen his ponytail, but
ponytails in general, I guess, is my question here.
Long hair on men for some reason is very nice.
Oh gosh. Well, my grandmother's maiden name is Goat, and that means horse lover. That might have something to do with it. But I'm not necessarily like completely certain, you know.
Yeah. Well, we were talking, like I mentioned this right at the end of the last episode, but like the idea that, and this is a good conversation came out of it when I posted about it on Facebook, but just the idea that like in a lot of cultures, longer hair actually like related to psychic abilities and stuff, and an interesting study that is available online was like how Native American soldiers were like brought into the military, but when they were first brought in, they were like brought in on their like ability to like sort of have like a bit of clairvoyant abilities, but then when they were brought into service, they cut off their hair and then they lost some of their abilities. If I'm not mistaken, that's like basically the sum of the story. But yeah, like
the haircut. All right, I get that.
I've heard that too.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I mean, they say it's like an extension of the nervous system. I don't know how that.
It's like DNA just growing out of us. Like it's our tendrils, man. Like it's our little like tentacles. But yeah.
What if it's like dyed? Let's say like like a female like dyes their hair or like bleaches it. Like, do you think that like right?
I don't know.
Necessarily. I don't think so. I have cheap hair, and I think that it gets in the way of my like abilities to have.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. Not unless it's like caked on there or something. But I don't know. I have no idea how it works for you guys. So yeah.
I don't know. My hair like faded from like blue to purple and then pink, and like I don't even know how that happens, but it did.
Cool.
But
anyway, I was gonna ask, Rain, do you got any like knowledge bombs that you can drop on us? Anything?
Knowledge bombs. I don't know. I was just listening to Jamaica. I was just thinking like,
pretty awesome,
yeah, like I don't know. There's so many things out there that can discourage us and give us no hope in the human race, and it's just like there are so many people out there that are doing awesome, amazing, paradigm shifting things that to be feeling like there's no hope in the human race, you're just creating, I don't know, of course you're just creating that. And
disempower yourself.
For sure. Like I just loved what she had to say. It was beautiful.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, just like bringing it back to the idea of like actually choosing like where our thoughts go and what we sort of focus on. And I mean, my friend like was sort of just like, when we were hanging out with my buddies, like he was just like talking about the Illuminati and stuff, or, you know, just sort of like the phrase of the Illuminati. But if you were just looking from that angle, like, yeah, totally, like, based on what the system is, whether there's like a specific force behind it or not, like it basically like doesn't want us to like realize like how awesome some of the people are that are out there, except for, I guess, if you're just like filtering yourself out through the internet, which is what a lot of people do these days, which is, I guess, why this is happening, right? Like we're choosing like what like, okay, actually no, this brings it into a nice way of saying it, because I actually had this thought the other day. Like, think about it this way. Think about like what your spiritual diet is. Like, so I mean, you eat food, right? But spiritually, like, what are you bringing into yourself? Like, are you bringing in like CNN news, which is like purely shit, or are you like bringing in like Paradigm Shift Radio and you get to listen to Jamaica Stevens and you like get something out of it that's actually like nutritional? You know, like what is your spiritual diet? And that can like relate even to your practices, you know, like your physical habits and things like that. So I don't know if you guys have something to say on that. It's just I think that's a cool term to sort of help like compartmentalize the thought. So
totally.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I have like something kind of longish that would just like probably take me 5 minutes to really explain, but I was with like the carnival came back in town like a couple days ago, and like for like this past week, just like all these like little pieces of like this big whole like reflection of just like this pillar of just like an umbrella enveloping sort of like came all into like one thing. And so pretty much to make a long story short, I was at a carnival with some friends, and then like we went to go leave to Paradise in the back of the Sunnyside School, and that's my elementary school, by the way. And so I decided, because I met this kid Lenny that just like appeared out of nowhere, but his real name's Dave, I don't know, something like that. He's like a ninja from Pine Rock, the place where I like consider like a pineal gland of Shelton for some reason. And so I'm like, Kenny, okay, I'll go in your trunk, but like I'm putting my life in your hands, dude. Like, I mean it. If I die, like, dude, that's it. Like, I'm putting my life in your hands. And so like we start going down Canal Street away from the fireworks, and there's this car, and I felt from the trunk, like the trunk like smushed, like I knew like that the trunk smushed, and then all of a sudden I hear everybody go, oh my God, pull over right now. And everybody rushes out of the car and runs over to this white van, and they don't get me out of the trunk, and I start like knocking to get me out, and then I finally get out, and there's this big ginormous white van tipped over on the side of like the curve of Canal Street. And so the guy who was driving it, my friend Lindsay went up into the front, and Chris told my brother's best friend, which we like to call Crystal, because he's just like this big hub of like source energy that like his mom and father were like crack addict and who's a pinball child his whole life. But anyways, so they pulled this guy out. His name is John. Right? Like John, he lives on both sides of Sunnyside School. There's Worm on one side who like did all like the nice beautiful things down at Paradise, and then there's like the John who I astral projected with at Sunnyside School when I was like 15 years old. He's the person who told me about like December 21st. So like we pull this guy out, and he's like, the only thing I want to do, he was like completely like drunk or like out of his mind, I don't even know what really, and he said the only thing I want to do is call my wife, and his wife's name is Jen. And then after when he called his wife, the cops showed up, and the only cop name that I got the name of was DuPont. So then afterwards we leave, and I go back into the trunk in Lafayette School where my dad went to school at, and then we drive all around all these different places. I don't know where we were going in the car, and I was like, Kenny, stop it. Kenny, stop. Just go to Paradise. I'm like freaking out, like in the trunk, like Kenny, you know. And so we get to the back, you know. At this point I was already feeling like a dead body, and I was like walking down like past Sunnyside in the back, like down all these trails, like blinking back to like dreams that I had as a kid, and like all these like weird like fractal like symmetry things of like all my like third eye projections, like thoughts and imaginations just like coming out all at once. And then like my friend Tyler shows up with Lenny, and this kid Evan lived 4 houses away from John Quark, who I consider like this quark particle, like quark, you know, like quark physics, that sort of thing that could like send you 1 in 6 directions pretty much. So that's all I really have to say.
Yeah, is that the end of it?
Huh?
Is that the end of it?
No, it's not the end of it. Okay. It's just already going.
Yeah, it usually doesn't like end. Like it's just, oh man, that was like so intense. Like Like I know, like I'm not like laughing like at it. It's just like, oh man, because like
it's really gnarly. Like when you just like go off on these tangents and like have all of these synchronistic connections that go together. It's freaking gnarly, like the way that it comes out of you.
Well, that's
it just kind of happens on its own, and it's just like the second I saw this car flipped over, I thought it was Lenny for some reason. Like I thought it was like me for a second, and I was like, I had no recollection of like anything that really happened, and it was just like, it's so much to just like really get off my chest. Like my left hand is like vibrating so hard into like my elbow, like up into like my leg. Yeah, like
intense scenario to go through.
Yeah, and those things just happen like all the time, and like
we're
all
glad
the
you're
time.
okay. You know, like, being drunk and stuff. So yeah, I'm glad to hear that. But yeah, like kind of, you know, like for like a lot of people that was like probably like too much. That was like too much information just for like them to like understand. But I mean, for those of you who sort of like know Jess, like Jess really has like this way of kind of like observing. You can call them synchronicities or whatever, because they're throughout all of our lives. So like even in like the names of the people who we know and stuff like that, and just like streets that we live on, and just coincidences again. But yeah, like Jess kind of really picks up on those. I think is that kind of, am I accurate in saying that, Jess?
Yeah, I can't necessarily say how long it's really been like that, but like I cracked my head open in my fire pit in the backyard when I was in kindergarten, and I really haven't been the same since. Yeah. Well, like I've been the same, but just like, you know, just like something happened. It's like we went to this hospital on the top of this hill and like they didn't even wash me off. I was like in all white with like a pink heart on my shirt, and like they didn't even wash me off. And then we went through like the Burger King drive-thru, and like it's just too funny. It's just too funny. It goes on forever and ever and ever. But
it does.
You know.
It does. Yeah. Yeah, I know. We've all got like interesting stories, so it's interesting to hear them. Because I mean, again, like, you know, like thinking of that, like your story is like an experience of consciousness. Like this isn't, for people listening, like, I mean, yes, this is Jess who's with us, but this isn't just Jess. This is like consciousness experiencing and talking to itself, like saying like, this happened to me, this is what I go through, this is what I sound like, this is my voice, this is my experience and stuff. So it's always really kind of interesting to look at that from the big picture. You guys know what I'm saying? Rain, Jen?
For sure.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
Oh yeah, and it was a beautiful night when we were down there, and like we just all talked until like 4 a.m, where it started to rain like really, really, really hard, and it was so beautiful.
That's
like Tyler and Lenny and Evan left, but like we just like stayed there, and just like it was beautiful, and like it was so funny. Like the first thing Jay said before like we left the house, like down to like the carnival and stuff, he said like it could even like pour, like it could even just like start pouring like when we get back, and I'll be like completely happy with it. Like it was so good.
Perfect.
But
yeah. Sorry, I think Rain or Jen, one of you guys, or sort of.
Just reverting back to what you're talking about how like the government, or about like we can focus on certain things, and it literally starts creating our life.
I was gonna go there too a little bit.
Yeah, no, by all means, go ahead.
I have something interesting. Well, I have to share that like I was just gonna say, guys, we have about 5 minutes, so go ahead. Okay, I'll make it quick. I've actually like sort of been experimenting with mushrooms a little bit, like not necessarily like trying to trip, but just like doing it in moderation. And I had this like really interesting thing that I wrote down that I thought that I would share.
By all means, yeah.
It says, I lay here with myself, peeling away my layers like a never-ending onion, sweet and tangy with a bitter aftertaste that will only leave your mouth when you wash it down with a bottle of good craft beer. It's interesting how I can lay here and think about the events that unfolded throughout the past week and connect the little synchronistic dots to one another. If I wasn't able to step back from all the hustle and bustle, I probably would have missed the very importance of those funny little hints that the universe is always throwing at me.
For sure.
I like that.
Yeah, totally. I like that. Like it's funny because I mean I think for all of us, right? Like when we think back, even just on where we were individually, maybe like 5 years ago, 4 years ago, however long, and just like because I know like I mean I was alive, like I was doing my thing, but like I didn't understand, like the word synchronicity wasn't in my vocabulary at that point. But like once you sort of like know how to sort of recognize like how things are unfolding, reality just gets like way like more intricate. Like it's really interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if Rain, you had like maybe something to throw in there.
I just wanted to talk about like what we focus on.
Yeah.
And, like I don't know. I think like there's a really big reason why the government and the military, industrial, pharmaceutical, agricultural complex pours billions of dollars into distracting us and making us sick, making us play the game of sickness that literally fuels the complex. And it's because they know that if we were not distracted and we lived our lives to the fullest and we tried to change things, that we would. Like, they know this. This is why they're spending their whole life distracting us. I mean, they're not...
I'm sorry to like really, like interrupt, but I feel like in a lot of ways, like we just like consciously like kind of put this on ourselves. We kind of like, we kind of put ourselves into like these state of minds and these states of just like being in existence where it's like we have to like learn and like go through this process of like, like all these things and all these big structures weren't put there by like, the paranoia or like, the feelings that we get as like a child, you know what I mean, on how we feel and reflect upon the earth. Like who knows, what exactly we would be experiencing right now, you know what I mean? Where it's just kind of like, I honestly like, it's shit, all of these little structures that are going on obviously, aren't meant to last forever, but I wouldn't necessarily say that they were all just for bad, because it is all just manifested thought like, oh, I gotta go make a profit today, just like the incoherent like existence of just like exchange of information. It's pretty much the same thing. I mean, like they had something in the Bible about like Jesus attacking a bank or something and like destroying the place.
Rob the bank? That sounds right.
Yeah, he's a G dude.
Rob bank, dude.
Oh yeah, dude, Jesus was a revolutionary for sure.
But
cool.
yeah,
right, guys, we got 90 seconds left in the show, so let me just remind people that there will be a hangout, and the hangout is already posted on the Facebook page. So go to facebook.com/ParadigmShiftRadio, and you'll find the hangout link there, and I'll post it in the live chat as well, and you can watch it on YouTube once it actually is live. And for anybody who is interested in this conversation and would even like to contribute to it, the hangout is a good place to do that, and it's where we go and we just do exactly that. We hang out and continue the conversation and etc. But facebook.com/ParadigmShiftRadio.
Oh wait, I wanted to bring up one last thing. London. There's supposed to be that fake government, thing about like the UFOs and stuff. But like, I never knew of any London, Ontario until like after like the London Olympics. But like, that's just another story. But
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
UFOs. We'll talk about that some more in the future. Any last comments from Rain and Jem?
I think we should. I just like to encourage a shift back to symbiosis, because what is good for us is naturally good for the planet. So take care of yourself, put yourself first, like Jamaica said, and everything is gonna be all right.
Yes, I live my life like that every day.
Good message to end on, and gratitude to everything. So, on behalf of Paradigm Shift Central and everybody else here, thank you very much for listening. Add me on Facebook, facebook.com/SkullBabylon. And until next time, we will see you in the future. Cheers, everyone.
Thank you.
Cheers.